Well, hello, friends. My name is David Trotter. I'm the founder and publisher of Awaken Magazine, and I am so excited to share with you that this is our launch week for Awakened Hearts Volume 2. I guess, hey, you can see it in two places, the digital and the real version. And was so excited to share with you these 25 authors that have poured out their heart and soul in their chapters in this book. And the essence of this book is called Sacred Stories of Breaking Free and Rising Higher. And really, they're stories of awakening to mindfulness, consciousness, spirituality. And as we will hear today and through all of our author conversations, that oftentimes comes through challenges, right? Pain and trauma and struggles and moments of awakening. So what we're doing throughout the week is giving the opportunity for several of our authors each day to share about their own journey and their own stories. And so I'm super excited today to have with me Robert and Valerie and Lindsay. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Hey, David. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really fun. And each one of your stories is so unique and so powerful. And I cannot wait for people to read your stories. So I just want to begin by giving you an opportunity to just share a little bit about yourself. So maybe introduce who you are and how you serve others currently. So Robert, do you mind getting us started?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, David. My name's Robert Hudson. My chapter in the book is The Breath That Unlocked the Cage. And so I am the founder of Hands of Era, and also is a proud part of the Nirvana Mind, Body, and Soul Collective. And I'm a sovereign vessel of harmonic remembrance. And harmonic remembrance is the experience, basically, of returning to your truest natural state. Most of us live in a state of disharmony. I certainly did. And we're filled with the static of our past, programs, and imprints of suffering. And this isn't really a state that we can think our way out of. The mind is the source of the noise. It can't possibly be the source of the stillness. So harmonic remembrance is what happens when you get still. It's an embodied process of using the breath combined with sacred somatic and shamanic work to clear the static and those distortions. And I act as a guide for that. And then it just simply becomes a process of removal. And I facilitate the release of programs and imprints of suffering. And in that newfound stillness, you kind of begin to hear it, your own original song, your own divine blueprint, whatever you want to call it. And it's not something you learn, it's something you remember.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Robert. And where are you located?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Wonderful. Good. I know you do things locally there in person, but obviously you do lots of things online as well. So Valerie, tell me about yourself. I know about you, but tell others about yourself, where you are and how you serve our world.
Absolutely. So my name is Valerie Vidal, and I am located in Sanger, Texas. That's just a little tiny little countryside of the Denton area in the DFW, the heart of Texas. And I have been working as a spiritual teacher, mentor, mindfulness trainer, where essentially I've been helping in the trauma-informed setting, working with folks with essentially either childhood trauma, some sort of trauma that has kept them from, just like Robert said, remembering who they truly are in their soul, right? Not what the world told you, not the fears, not any of these blockages that we hold when we are absent of our divinity. And I help them come back to self. I help them with teachings that, just like Robert said, there's nothing that I've learned through this process, through any book, essentially through my own healing, where those downloads came and all of these past lives were revealed to me. I also work with plant medicine, very specifically with Bobinsana, because that is the plant, the master plant of the heart. And most of my clients are women. That has been kind of like the population that has been assigned to me in this lifetime specifically. And I really do teach women how to allow themselves to cry again.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And
That's a
Valerie's
little bit of what I do.
Yeah, thank you. Valerie's chapter is called Breaking the Statistics. And you'll see on the beginning of each chapter, we've got the author's photo there. And she shares the most powerful story of giving birth February 7th, 2001, and just what unfolded. It was jaw dropping, and just so powerful to read. So thank you so much for sharing that, Valerie. Lindsay, tell us about yourself, where you live, who you're serving in the world.
All right. Well, my name is Lindsay Vatterott. I live in Colorado, and I'm a spiritual guide and mentor for people who are truly suffering on the process of waking up. There's a lot of physical and mental disturbances that happen, and a lot of people think they're losing their mind or going crazy. And at least that was me. I offer a space for people to share and not feel judged. I think that in our culture, when you say and share things that are a little bit out there, you're immediately labeled, pathologized, and nobody wants to hear you. So I offer a space for people to work with them one-on-one, share what's happening, make them understand that waking up is a very natural process that I think our culture is completely missing. And it's something from the ancient past that was very normal. So I try to make it normal and make people feel comfortable again and make them feel confident and that they can walk the path that, they're destined to walk and move forward. I'm also a podcast host. I have a weekly podcast called Live Like Eden, Spiritual Awakening Unraveled. And it was started off my own personal experience, but I talk about spirituality, shifts in consciousness, health healing, all the things, at Awaken Magazine offers. And I do it with some real talk, down to earth, humor. I'm a mom of 4 grown children. So as I was going through this really radical shift, I also had to keep my feet on the ground and do the things and live the chaotic journey. So I try to bridge the gap between experiencing the spiritual realm, but living a normal life. I think the idea that we have to escape life and go on the top of the mountain and, is great, but not everybody can do that. And I think it's very possible to live in constant communion, but still live as a human being. So that's what I do.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I think one of the things that is unique about you is the focus on really helping people, especially that are experiencing physical, mental, psychological upheaval in the midst of their awakening. And I don't hear that from a lot of people that I interview or connect with, is like that specific emphasis, because then when I do talk to people who are having awakenings, there is a physicality to it oftentimes.
There's a huge, you're 100% right. And David, I could never find, I had a really radical journey and I could never find anything physical. Like it was like you had all these people talking about their amazing experience after the fact, but I could never find, I wanted to know what happened in the middle. Like, what was your struggle? What was the physical part? And I just couldn't find it. So I'm trying to be that voice for people that are literally in the middle of it, wanting that hope that there is a way, there will be a way out. You will feel different, but there is a way forward.
Yeah. So many people are talking about, well, I went on this galactic adventure and then I had this thing, and it's like, yeah, but meanwhile, my body's freaking out.
Yes.
Who can help me with that? Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Thank you for being here. Yeah. So good. Well, I want to hear about your thoughts, your concept, your idea around this term awakened, right? We have this series that we've called Awakened Hearts. And as a side note, those of you who are watching today, I'd encourage you to join our launch team. That's one of the ways that you can help us get the book out there. We actually have 2 Awakened Hearts books. The first one came out in June of this year with 32 authors. And then our second volume is coming out Monday, November 10th. And if you want to be a part of that launch team, you can sign up at awakenedmagazine.com/book launch. It just means buy the book. It's $1.99 on Kindle. Read it, read a chapter, multiple chapters, leave an authentic, heartfelt review on Amazon, and that helps us spread the word. If you do that, you're also entered to win. We're doing a $500 Visa gift card giveaway to one individual, one lucky winner. So anyway, this concept of being awakened, what does that mean to you? What is that term mean for, I guess in your own journey, but also as you're coaching and helping other people. So do you mind starting us, Lindsay?
Sure. I think that to answer that, David, I think it has many levels to it. I think that we're all on the part of the path that we're supposed to be on. And I like to think of like our journey here in the world as a classroom, right? And it's like we're all trying to remember home. Like, where's home? It seems like we're all searching. What are we looking for? And, it just seems that if home is a true state in eternal oneness with God or spirit or, whatever terminology you want to put on it, that the constant unfolding will continue as long as we are here. And we never know how far is spirit going to pull us? I think that when people start jumping into, well, we are this, I'm always like, well, I don't know. I keep getting pulled. And so this constant unfolding and trusting that, spirit's going to pull us home when we need to be home. But everything here seems to be a symbol to me, like every little moment doesn't have to be a fireworks display. I think we're all looking for this like magical show to appear like, oh, we did it. When I think it could be these little subtle things every moment, an encounter with somebody at the store or just, and that connection, recognizing that we're all the same is a wake up, each little thing. And, the mind's going to want to try to say it's not. And so when you're shifting out of that and then realizing, no, spirit's leading me and waking me up and peeling away the layers, peeling away all the things that we thought we were. So I just think it's a constant unfolding. I think that it's something that, until we're at home in in the peace of God, I think you're constantly waking up.
Mm-hmm. So I hear you say, in a sense, it's not one time experience. And then two, like it's never finished is what I guess I'm hearing you say.
Well, I think that as long as we're in the, if you call this the dream state or the duality, I think, yeah. But I think when we're actually returned to the oneness and peace of reality, then it's done. But until we're there, I can't claim that, that I'm there. I'm in a constant, when I'm there, I'm there. But right now, we're here together having this lovely conversation,
Yeah. Some people will ask me about that term awakened, because it's like, well, is it done? And well, I mean, technically, it was just the URL that was available, Awaken Magazine. I mean, Awakening Magazine wasn't available. So, we're continuing to awaken, So
Yeah.
continuing to awakenmagazine.com. That's
there you go.
Yeah. How about you, Valerie? What does that term awaken mean to you?
So I want to agree with a lot of the things that Lindsay said, especially the fact that it's layered. Something really, I'm going to call it fun right now, but it wasn't fun when I was going through it, is the fact that a lot of these times, every time I had an ego death, I felt, okay, I'm out of it. Wow, okay, perfect. Life is going to be smooth sailing from now on. And then I would conquer whatever I understand now that it was just a lesson that I needed to conquer at the time. And then I would go back to feeling like, wait, what happened? It was like constantly my floor kept shaking, and it was like another ego death and another ego death. And having the ability to stop and stop questioning everything was where I started having the best experience through the process, because then I was allowing spirit to do what spirit does, which is to guide us. I kept resisting because I thought, or my mind, right, would think I made it to the finish line. I really just wanted to be done with it. I had no idea that I had started this back in that near-death experience. And because I was not aware that that near-death experience was what started my awakening. I was walking away for years and looking around and feeling like I was really an alien. I do not belong here. I cannot connect with anyone, but I need to pretend that I'm okay being in this space. So it was very uphill for me for about 25 years until I went into that deep healing and started doing the plant medicine. And I thought that that had been my first awakening. Nope. That was just another level, another layer of deeper healing. And when magic really started happening, there was this most amazing things that thankfully I got on pictures, because if I tell these things without evidence, I will be the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs forever in the internet. So I am so thankful that I was able to capture orbs that appeared right in front of me, or this very magical bunny that was uh, sculptured on a storm that was giving me a cue that something was going to happen. I was going to go down a rabbit hole. It's these beautiful things that a lot of people talk about, right? Where your ancestors are guiding you, where spirit is guiding you. And when you're living it, very exciting. And those layers are you're going backwards in time, essentially, because you're remembering. That's not forward. It's the opposite. And then I couldn't wait for the next ego death. And then I was like, okay, I don't care if it's a finish line. So it was a complete switch on everything I knew, everything I thought I knew, until I became completely nobody. Completely nobody. I understood I was a blank slate. I was literally absolutely nothing. And then from there, you start creating, and it becomes exciting again. So it has been my
Thank you, Valerie.
experience.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Robert, this idea of awakening, I'm going to read the first paragraph in your chapter, The Breath That Unlocked the Cage. Robert writes, my journey isn't a story of gentle awakening. It's one of a brutal unraveling. The necessary destruction of a life built on a cracked foundation. My path was forged in the fires of abandonment, molded in the crucible of combat, and nearly extinguished in the depths of addiction. Through my own suffering, I discovered that true strength isn't about fighting, but about surrender. Yeah, powerful chapter. Tell me, what does this concept of awakening mean to you?
Yeah, it's, awaken's one of those words. It's kind of like enlightened, I guess, that the mind can latch onto. It can become another program, another kind of destination to try to get to, another game, or another thing to become. So for me, that ended up just being more static. It was my mind trying to control the process of letting go, of that surrender that both of you just spoke about. So for me, awakened really isn't that. It's not a destination. It's not a certificate you earn. Look at my awakened certificate on my wall. It's the moment you realize you don't have to try anymore. So for me, it was about switching from trying to become, from becoming to just being. It's that process of harmonic remembrance that I spoke about earlier. That moment where you stop identifying with that noise, with the static, with the imprints of suffering that you've had, and you remember that you're actually the stillness beneath it. It's kind of that unveiling. So it's not like some peak you climb. There's no destination, actually. It's a journey as long as we're here. And it's just that profound embodied remembrance that instead of climbing a mountain to become, that you actually were just the mountain all along.
How would you describe your day-to-day life, your relationships, in terms of a shift from, I guess from, before and after? And I know it's not a singular event. I know we're not talking, it's not a destination. It's an unfolding, as Lindsay mentioned. But life is different for you now from what you were experiencing previously. So, give us a picture of how your life is different.
Yeah, I think the biggest shift for me was that performance. Those programs that were running previously had me singularly focused on how everyone else was showing up in my life, as opposed to how I was showing up, and I was seeking externally for answers when all the answers are actually internal. So that's been the biggest shift for me. Is it doesn't matter, get cut off on the highway, go inward. Get triggered by your partner, go inward. Want to make more money, go inward. It's the answer to every question, is to go inward. And that's been my biggest shift for sure.
How does that look to you on daily basis? Like when you say go inward, what does that mean?
Yeah, for me, it starts with the breath work. When I started channeling, and was asking, what should I be doing, or why are you here? What is all this about? The answer for the first few months was just breathe. It wasn't meditate. It wasn't eat better. It wasn't work out. It was breathe. And that led to other areas. So for me, what it looks like is slow, intentional mornings, right? My morning is non-negotiable at this point. My morning looks exactly the way it looks. And sometimes my morning has me ready by 9, sometimes it's 10. So things like that, where spending time outside with my feet in the grass, eyes on the sun, conscious consumerism, right? We consume with all 5 senses. Too often we think of consuming and we're just thinking about food, but we consume with our eyes, our ears, our skin, our mouth, everything. And so consciously, what do I consume with my eyes, my ears? What do I put on my skin? Things like that. So the breath and conscious consumerism, I would say, are the 2 biggest shifts I've had in my day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm. Well, your skin looks great.
Thanks, David.
How about you, Lindsay? When you think about kind of life prior to this whole big experience that you had, how is your life different now?
My life is radically different in the sense of how I experience it. I don't look any different on the outside, which was always really hard for me because I was going through this very radical shift in my awareness, and I did not feel the same. I had a lot of physical energy, heightened, frequency, vibrational energy streaming through my system, and my nervous system took over a decade to completely integrate that. So for me, my life before this, I didn't know, because it was the only reality I had, that I was living in sort of a tunnel vision. It was me, and I felt solid in the body, and I felt like everything else was separate outside of me. And I could see, and I always had this concept that we're together and connected. That's a concept in the mind. I had no idea what that would feel like when I had this complete, how do I say? I feel like my head blew up. I guess that's really radical to say, but it felt like I had this blowout in the head, and then something instantly shifted where I was literally in a sea taking in all this information in my visual field, and I no longer felt physically like a separation between me and anything else around me. It was like the center in me, that reference point that I always came back to. I was really big into yoga for years. So you're taught to go in your center, or even when you meditate, go to the center. I felt like the center dissolved completely. And it was this constant, like everything was coming in and out, and it became this external movement physically, which was completely overwhelming to me. I mean, it took me years to just figure out what was happening, because it was at first I couldn't even figure out what was different. And then over time it hit me. It's like, I don't feel this separation physically. Things are moving in and out, and where do I begin and end? And that took a lot of getting used to, because now you're walking in a world that is not changed. There's things that change, but it's the same world. But I am living it so differently. And it just took a long time to get comfortable in that. Now it's my normal. I for years wished it bad. I didn't want to do that, but that's the truth. It's just a very different experience of the world around me. And I feel a constant physical connection to a very vast presence that is just always there. And sometimes, like if I'm in a group of people like you all, the energy's very high, and I can feel it. And then if I'm in a situation where there's somebody's really angry, and I physically feel that movement through the field, where years ago when I didn't understand what was happening, I would freeze up and fight or flight would happen and be a whole fear game, until I just finally surrendered and just, let things move in. But it's been a long, journey to understand that and live in it in a way that I feel at peace with it, that it's okay. I'm okay. So it's different. It's just a radically different life.
Amazing. Amazing. How, I know your kids were at home while you were experiencing that decade of
Yeah.
integration. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they handle like this crazy mom that they have now? Like, are they like,
Yeah.
yeah, my mom's nuts, or they're like,
Well,
no, I've
no,
got the cool mom, or like, how does that work for them?
let me tell you, this is a weird thing, David. My personality never changed.
Mm,
Okay. So it's like the personality self just keeps doing its thing. And I disconnected from that, even though it would just do it. Was kind of a strange thing because you're watching this identity that you don't really relate to anymore, but it's still there as we operate in a human experience. My kids were my saving grace, to be honest. I think they pulled me in. They were very young. I mean, I have 4 that are 4.5 years apart. I mean, we're talking a lot of energy. And they didn't know me any differently. I'm mom. I wasn't out doing the mom thing either. I wasn't the carpool mom. We weren't at 100 million activities, but I was very involved with them at home. So to them, it was just me. Now, though, that they're all older and I talk about this stuff, they're just like, I mean, they're like, whatever, mom. I mean, they're like, what? But, occasionally they listen to a podcast. They just know me as me. It's not, it wasn't like because I was like that prior to having them. I'd had this experience start before I had the children. So they didn't like witness some radical weirdness,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is fun. My kids think I'm crazy. We're like, you're a pastor. Now you're talking about like what? This galactic walk-in, and like you're having this experience of oneness with plant medicine. What are you doing, Dad? You told us not to take drugs. What are you doing?
Yeah. I like to think they are going to look back. They are going to need it one day. That's what I tell them. Well, one day maybe you'll look at the information.
Yeah. Valerie, how about you? How is life different for you having gone through this process? And I know it's an unfolding. I know it's, like you talked about ego death after another, but how about for you? What's life different?
Everything's different. I am completely different. I am not the person I was this time last year. I was very disconnected for years. I was just very disconnected. I could not, for my life, figure out what was happening. It was like I was absent from life itself. It's almost like I was floating, and science calls it survival mode, right? Where you're just like constantly on fight or flight freeze. And I was living in that frequency where you're just existing. You're not connected. You're just there, right? But you're not in your being. You're just trying to keep it together, and you're just doing. I used to call it you're smiling and nodding, and hi, everything's good, thumbs up. And now I am in this beautiful oneness where I truly, truly love everything, everyone. I am not consumed anymore by the emotions of anything that's happening around me, anyone. So I'm able to help people in the most, I guess, beautiful way, because I'm able to give and give and give and not be depleted, because I'm constantly flowing with this, I call it ever lasting water fountain. I don't know what names to give it, but it's that oneness that I feel, and nothing separates me from it. I'm able to be in the moment. I'm able to enjoy every person. I'm able to just really now get a really good hang of what this thing life is all about. And it's just about being and being of service now, right? I'm able to be of service and just do it to the best of my ability, and just constantly want to be there. It is completely different. And my kids can tell you, they did see the before and after. I did struggle a lot with motherhood. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I learned very early to take care of everyone. I was a mother at 17. So I had to learn to take care of them, but I didn't even know how to take care of myself. And this time around, it was an opportunity for me to heal those parts, right? That I had to neglect because of whatever circumstances were there. And I had to learn how to take care of myself. I had to learn to what do I like? What do I need? It was all about me this time, not in a selfish, but in a choosing me unapologetically. And now I'm able to just be for everyone else in a just very healthy way. So yeah, it's been a very night and day for me. I talk different. I am not slightly the same person that I was a year ago.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So just as a reminder, for those who are watching, what we're doing today and all week is sharing with you about the new Awakened Hearts book. This is volume 2, and it features the story of 25 authors sharing their stories of awakening to mindfulness, consciousness, spirituality. The book actually comes out on Amazon on Monday, November 10th. And so you have an opportunity this week, if you'd like, to join the launch team. You go to the link below, awakenedmagazine.com/book launch. You can sign up. What we just asked that you would purchase the book this week. It's $1.99 on Kindle. You can read it and then post an authentic, heartfelt review. And, it'd be great if it was 5 stars. But if, whatever you feel. Our first book, which you can pick up as well, is called Awakened Hearts. It's the first volume. This is Stories of Embracing Light, Love, and Limitless Possibilities. And the second book is Sacred Stories of Breaking Free and Rising Higher. And then, post a review, and that helps us work toward being an Amazon bestseller. So that's what we're doing this week, and just talking to a variety of our contributing authors. And so just excited to have you guys with us. I'm curious about the writing process. Some of you are already writers, writing for whether it's Substack or a blog back in the day, or your email lists, or maybe other books. So tell me, Lindsay, what was the process like for you writing this chapter? How did you write it? Where did you write it? What was it like? Yeah, tell us.
Well, I've written a lot of it out over the years, right? So, years ago when I'd have very strange experiences, I chose to write it out to kind of as a healing, just writing it out. And I think on some level, I knew one day I would share it. So I wrote a lot out. But as I was writing it, I was just feeling this very, I'm kind of reliving it in a way too, right? Remembering the feeling that was going through me in each of those moments. But I also have this kind of interesting way of writing where my mind could be chattering up a mile a minute, but I'll get like some kind of inspiration. It'll just come in and a sentence will hit, and I'll just stop what I'm doing and write it down. So I do feel like a lot of the writing was just very inspired by spirit itself. It was just kind of guiding me to put it in, because it was such a long period of time. It was kind of like, how do you pick out the moments that were the key moments that you could sum up in 2,500 words,
Yeah.
So I just felt led and guided by, this very large essence that was streaming through me as I was writing it. And I did have there was a lot of emotion as I finished it. And I always read out loud, when I'm done, to make sure I hear like a music with words. So I need to make sure it sounds like a music coming through. And if anything sounds off, I'm adjusting it. But yeah, it was very healing. And I just felt this great sense of, I don't know, love, I guess, that I'm so happy to share something that I feel like is so needed for people in the world. I wanted to find that, and I hope that it finds, people that need it.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the key reason why I wanted to create these Awakened Hearts books, is because I'm hearing these stories of awakening like yours and going, other people need to hear this. Other people
Yeah.
need to read this, because number one, that if they're going through that, they know that they're not alone. And then
Right.
number two, if they're kind of having some what is life all about? Is this all there is? Is there more? That then they could see a mirror of their own life and go, oh my gosh, I've been through something similar to Valerie. That inspires me. That makes me realize I'm not alone and I can get through this. And wait, I can reach out to Valerie and get support from her.
Mhm.
I can talk to Robert about how do I remember my, what did he say? Harmonic frequency. I don't know what he's talking about, but he can help me, like that's what I want people to say,
Yeah.
So I want to read a chapter here from Lindsay's. I'm sorry, a paragraph from Lindsay's chapter. And you are in the midst of leading a yoga class, getting ready to lead a yoga class. And you write, suddenly the energy blazed into my lower back and began ascending my spine. Repetitive teaching cues naturally flowed from my mouth as a wave of fire burned me from the inside out. Sweat beaded all over my body while the energy proceeded through my upper spine. I felt an overwhelming pressure at the back of my neck rising into the base of my skull like a volcano on the verge of eruption. I mean, if you read that, you got to keep reading. You're like, what happened? Oh my gosh.
Well, it was like that. What is happening to me? Yeah. I had no idea.
A couple paragraphs later, you said, am I dying or headed into another realm? I thought. Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah. One thing I think is important, and I think all of us are saying the same thing, but there's a lack of preparation on the path to become your spiritual self, right? I think there's this, like, it's almost like a rite of passage, right? That all of us will go through. It's very natural, yet there's literally nothing in the culture preparing us as young people, right? I don't know about any of you, but I didn't sit down. My parents were like, guess what? When you start losing your identity and you start rebirthing yourself, it's not going to go over well. Like, no one's doing that. So I just feel like it's so nice to all of us. We're trying to help people, not only help them through it, but also help prepare, educate of what's possible.
Yes, beautiful. How about you, Valerie? What was the writing process like for you in this chapter?
It was very interesting because all of this started when I had this calling, and literally God called me by my name and he said, you need to write the story, the testimony of your healing. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how am I going to do this and all this stuff? And he said, don't worry, my warriors they're already waiting. And I'm like, what does that even mean, that your warriors are waiting? Right. And then it was silence, radio silence. And I'm like completely lost on what's happening. And then I start getting dreams. And I'm being guided to these dreams. And then in the dream, the heart of your book, that's how I found you to Instagram. And every single time this little things happen, I would lose my mind. At the beginning, I did not understand what was happening to me. Like Lindsay said, you're like, what is happening to me? Nobody ever talked to me about. I have never heard about that. One day I was gonna have dreams that were talking to me, and I had to then sit for the next dream. And you know what I'm saying? You're literally trying to just be still and let God be God and allow for life to unfold. But
You're
while
waiting.
you get to
waiting.
point,
It's like you're waiting for the next God episode to come out.
exactly.
Well, it didn't come out tonight. Hopefully it comes out to next night.
Exactly, because you still have to do life. You still have to participate on this other stuff. So it's a lot of learning things, right? You're learning patience, you're learning discipline, you're learning to weigh I understand it now, but at that point I didn't. So when all of these things started unfolding, I already had started writing that testimony of the healing. So from that very call and everything else backward to my childhood, because I did not just recall my near-death experience. That happened with the Awakened magazine. And I had prayed because it made no sense to me that I already had started writing a book, but that I was given your Awakened Heart cover as a guide, that it needed to be there too. I said, I cannot be repeating myself. I cannot be in two different books. So as I'm praying, I'm asking for guidance. then I get that download of my near-death experience. Like, Spirit already knew what I needed to write about. I just needed to ask, and it shall be given to you. So when those memories came back, like Liz said, I was a little bit shook. I was a little bit frozen. I had to process that. I didn't remember that part. So I'm remembering, I'm feeling a little bit some type of way, going back and wow, this did happen to me. And what was the process on that time frame of my life? So there was a lot of reflection. And I was very still, very, very still. I didn't want to get consumed with the emotions that were boiling up, remembering that I had a near-death experience, that I had been home with Source, and remembering what that was, what that feeling was. Mm-hmm. So I experienced a lot of stillness, and I feel like I had a chance to practice what being obedient to Spirit is. And it's just to stay calm, stay in the moment. We're guiding you. I was completely guided. And I wasn't channeling as I was with the other book that I'm writing still. It was like I was completely conscious of everything I was writing down. Beautiful. And that was different. Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Beautiful. How about you, Robert? What was this writing process like for you? When did you do it? Did you do it during that morning time that you talked about, or was it more of an afternoon or evening experience? Tell us how it unfolded for you.
Yeah, it was honestly, this experience was cool. It's kind of a ceremony in and of itself, and a pretty profound act of vulnerability on my part. The mind thinks of writing as an intellectual process, right? Sit down, remember the story, right? And kind of like what Lindsay said, but mine wasn't intellectual. And to write this story, I had to do the exact work that I facilitate. So this was a somatic remembering as opposed to an intellectual one. I kind of went back and tried to be in those moments of absolute depletion, of suffering, of being lost in the noise, right? And that meant truly telling the story of my abandonment, my addiction, and what many people who even knew me back then don't realize is, and what I had to put on the page was the sheer depth of the pain that I was actually in. I was a master of the program, of the performance, of putting that mask on before you walk out the door every day. And so on the outside, I was absolutely functioning, but internally it was just drowning in that static, relying on things like a bottle of Jameson and pills to just kind of survive. I was even in relationships where my partner had no idea I even had the pills. I was that like adept at hiding my suffering. And so this writing process was really, for the first time, having the courage to take that mask off for the world to see and go back and feel those feelings and feel that suffering. But this time I had to do it without identifying with them, not grabbing those stories and understanding that I'm not those stories. I had to learn to be the witness of this story and not be a victim of it. And so this, as we went back and forth on my part of this book, it was a profound act of removal for me. It's kind of clearing the remaining kind of charge from those old imprints and the process of taking full 100% responsibility for that past, and not some like story of what happened to me, but more so a story of how I found my way back to remembrance.
One of the things that you have all alluded to is just a degree of vulnerability in sharing your story and remembering it both intellectually and, somatically, having this experience of reliving it. And I know I have written a number of books where I have been very vulnerable myself, and that feeling can be like, oh, geez, should I share this? How are people going to judge me? What about friends or family who read this? And ultimately, anybody who picks up this book, they're coming from a place of, I believe, a place of learning, a place of growth. And the result, every time when I read your stories, my heart just explodes. Not my head, Lindsay, my heart was exploding with empathy empathy and care and connection, right? I feel like, oh my gosh, I just love these. These are Robert, you went through so much. Let me just give you a hug, man. Oh my gosh, or oh, I just want to sit with you and just be with you. And that's the result. That's the result is empathy and connection. People want to then learn more about you and be with you. And then ultimately, the beauty is that all three of you, what you've gone through is you have turned that into service, not just something that you've kept for yourself, but to go, oh, how can I help others navigate this process and have a different life? Because people need that, right? That's the whole reason why we're doing this. The whole reason why Awaken Magazine exists, the whole reason why Awaken Hearts exists, is to help other people experience more love, healing, transformation in their life, and help people like yourselves be known by people. Because our world, oftentimes, you guys know this, it's traditional medicine, or perhaps it's talk therapy, going around in circles. You can describe the problem a million different ways, but you still have it. And then obviously just checking out through things like you talked about, Robert, was pills or alcohol or Netflix or shopping, or there's a million ways to check out. So people need you. People need what you have to offer. And that's the reason why we do what we do. I am curious about your own hopes. That was my hopes, what I just shared. But what are your hopes for the book as it gets out to the world, your friends, your family, your clients, random people who come across it? One of my deepest desires is this book would have just a percentage of the impact that Chicken Soup for the Soul has had in the 90s in our culture, right? That's just profound, the impact. But it wasn't connected to a movement of people. And it wasn't necessarily trying to help people connect with healers, leaders, and coaches and guides, right? So I want to utilize this book series to make an impact in our culture, not just in the US, but globally, because we do have global authors. And so we want to get those stories out there. That's obviously the reason. But what about for you? What are your hopes for this book as it gets out into the world? How about you, Valerie?
I feel very strongly that for people to be able to start connecting in a more holistic way with themselves without thinking there's something wrong with me. All of these things that we probably went through, they probably won't have to, because we're sharing the story. If I would have knew then what I know now, and I would have known the people, and if I would have known that this was normal, right? My process would have probably be less painful. We are alleviating pain. We are helping people understand that it is part of your human experience. It's part of your awakening to your divinity. It is okay. You are okay. We're leading the way for people to feel more human, more safe. And ultimately, it helps us to get that moving a little bit more, I want to say quicker, more without blockages, without that resistance that we probably felt. I think all of us here, we had that resistance. We felt it. It's that pain and that explosion of the head internal. And we're lost, right? We were doing it lost. I said, I didn't have nobody. And then I would say, wait, spirit, I'm sorry. No, I had spirit. All the unseen world was with me. But to have a physical, tangible, guide, come on. I don't think nothing can beat that, because in our humanity, there's nothing better than to feel and know that we are seen. And when we're reading this, that is what we get. It's like, wow, I'm going through this. I went through that, right? There's a point of reference. And from there, I want to think and I want to believe, and I truly, truly do believe that it could just pave the way for others to move through the process without fear. Mm-hmm. That is the main thing.
That's good. That's good. How about you, Robert? What are your hopes for this book and your chapter as it extends out into the world?
Yeah, I hope the book itself, and obviously my small part in it, finds its way to the person who is where I was, a person in that moment of like absolute depletion, drowning in the static, the noise, so identified with their suffering that they believe the program that tells them they're broken. I certainly did. And so the person who, as they go out into the physical world or the social media world, feels compelled to perform, to put that mask on that they think keeps them safe. And I especially hope this message finds its way to men, because we're so often the ones most trapped in that program. We're taught that our entire value is in our performance, that any introspection or stillness, any vulnerability is weakness. And so I hope that my story can be a testament to them that introspection is not weakness. It's actually the epitome of strength. It's, in my opinion, the most courageous thing a person can do. So I want them to know, whether they're a soldier, a janitor, a CEO, that you're not the stories that your mind creates. You know, that the saying, you have a mind, but you're not the mind. You're not your job. You're not your trauma. You're not any of the noise. And so my ultimate hope is that they hear that the number one thing you can do to change your entire existence, to change how you experience this life, is not to try harder. It's not to control the mind. It's simply to breathe, have the courage to surrender to that stillness. And once you are, whatever comes up, greet it with love and compassion. So get out of the mind, into the body, and into the now.
Thank you, Robert. Lindsay, what are your hopes for your chapter in the book as it gets its way out in the world?
Well, one thing I would like to mention is just being part of, 25 stories. I think that it's amazing that somebody could pick up a book and realize that there's a lot of ways to experience your spiritual connection. And just because somebody had me having this strange thing, or Robert and Val having their unique stories, I think that the thing that's so amazing is we're all pointing at the same, we're all being led to the same place. And I think that there needs to be more of that. And I love, David, that you're offering this, because each one of us will experience it in our own unique way. It does not have to look like somebody else's journey. And I think that can be a huge, ego trap when somebody is grabbing a hold of somebody else's story, needing it to look that way. Well, they did this and experienced this, and where's my, I did that a little bit. So I hope it just brings a sense of relief to people that, wow, maybe that the darkness I'm in, and no matter what that looks like, is a catalyst for my transformation. And I hope, from my own personal story in it, that anybody who happens to pick it up, who's going through something similar, there is a way out, and there are people like me out there that have done it. And I'm just so happy to be able to share it and hopefully help people along the way.
Yeah, it's not all love and light, right, Lindsay?
No, it's not. And then get some humor. The further along you get, it gets a little comical.
It does, yeah.
Not at the beginning, not so much, but then it's funny.
Right.
No, at first you're crazy, then you get funny. Then it gets funny.
Exactly. First you lose your mind, and then you're able to say, "Oh, I did that."
Yeah, exactly. You can laugh a little, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, we encourage you to join the book launch team and help us spread this book far and wide. If you go to awakenmagazine.com/book launch, just pop your email in there. You'll be notified of the release of the book on Monday, November 10th. If it's already after Monday, November 10th, you can find it available on Amazon. It's Awakened Hearts, Sacred Stories of Breaking Free and Rising Higher. It's available in Kindle, available in paperback, and then also will be available in hardback as well. So thank you guys so much for sharing your story, your experience today. I just love being with you and hearing your unique perspectives. And I'm excited to have your stories get out into the world. It's going to be amazing, a fun week together. So thank you guys for being with us.